All right, should we move on to the Cy Young numbers?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, might as well get it all in.
This one isn't as nearly as insulting as the other one. He listed 11. Okay. He listed 11 players, and you were 7th behind Norp, Schultz.
There's 8 teams in the league, and I was listening to
Hey, welcome back to Fade the Mahoney. We're going to do an All-Star Game preview show here. We're going to gamble a little bit on the All-Star Game. We're also going to recap our preseason awards, the odds for those, and compare them to where they're at now. That'll be interesting juxtaposition. Last week we did the Home Run Derby preview, and we checked on team totals and team championship odds and compared those. That was a pretty good show. We got some good feedback. We gave away a Moxie jersey, Trevor.
Yes, we did.
Did we give it away? Did we give it away yet?
It's in the mail. It's coming.
All right. Maddox won it, and Maddox, he requested a Drew Davis Cobras Moxie jersey. So that's coming your way. Let's talk about the All-Star Game. Can you explain to me how the game is played? What's it about? Help me out a little bit.
Sure. AL versus NL.
Okay.
5-inning game. Last year, the NL won in nail-biting fashion, 1-0.
Ooh, okay.
In previous years, there have been games that weren't very close. I remember there was a game the AL won 11-1. I think that was in recent memory. It might have been 2020. I can't remember exactly, but or 2019. But yeah, so we got the All-Stars who were voted in or selected, I guess. Nick Saylor will not be there. He's been replaced by Drew Davis for the AL. Do you want me to run through the rosters real quick?
Yeah, please. That'd be great.
All right, for the AL, we have from the Cobras, Baranowski and Drew Davis, who, like I said, replaced Nick Saylor. The Magic have your boy, Trevor Bonham.
Yeah, my boy.
The Preds have Cratch, Russell, and Warda. And the Wildcats are represented by Kyle Schultz, who that was a pretty, I don't know if he deserves to be in there, but, he's a fan favorite. He's got to be there. The way that he's played this year so far, probably wouldn't be an all-star if he wasn't, commish.
Well, it's voting, right? Popularity contest. And they scratch out all the Curdy and Gus votes off of their sheet. Is that correct?
Allegedly.
Okay.
Well, at least all of ours, they did.
Okay. Keep going.
From the National League, we have from the Diamondbacks, Jimmy Norp. From the Eagles, Dallas Allen. And the Mallards, Jordan Robles and Tommy Coughlin. Those are the starters. I didn't mention the starters for the AL, sorry. And then the Eagles also have Daniel Schultz and Zach Whalen. And the Gators are represented by our boy, Chris Cheatham. The starters for the AL are Cratch, Russell, Warda. So the Preds plus Kyle Schultz.
All right. So 14 people play in the game. 8 of them have been on our show.
That's pretty good.
That's not too bad. Is that right? These six, Dallas Allen, the Red Baron, and somebody else. Oh, yeah, somebody else.
Bonham has never appeared, although he's been mentioned many times.
That's true. And Bonham is proof that every team gets one player, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So how's it played again? It's just one game.
1 game, 5 innings.
5 innings. All right. You got a spread in a total for me?
I do. I would like to go on the record that I don't want to wager on these at all because I think it's hard to find a good point here, but I have the NL as a slight favorite.
Okay.
So we'll say minus 125.
Okay. Well, they'll have probably Allen Norp pitching. I would guess. I
would expect to be Allen Norp and I guess Allen Norp, Robles, and Daniel will be the pitchers if they go with 4 of them.
Yeah.
Maybe Robles doesn't pitch and it's just Allen, Norp, and Daniel. I don't know. I mean, Cheatham obviously can pitch too.
Okay. And then on the other side, Baranowski and Cratch will probably be your main pitchers over there.
Bottom.
Well, Bonham would be 3rd, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He'd be the reliever. Maybe the closer. I put the total at 5.5.
Okay.
I went back and forth.
And we won't bet. You don't want to bet on that?
I don't want to take a side on this. No, I don't know. I think it's going to be.
I'll take
Here's
it.
the thing. What would you take if you were taking a side?
I was going to make the spread or the total 6.5, so I'd definitely bet the over.
You bet the over. Okay. It's interesting because on the one side of things, I think the pitching will dominate because these pitchers have been so good this year. And the other thing is like when you have 7 guys, you're not going to, I assume they're going to bat 4 or 5, or they're going to bat 4 and then, rotate in pitch hitters and stuff like that. So you don't have that same, keep getting at bats type rhythm. And you're seeing different pitchers a bunch too. On the flip side of that, if a pitcher gets in and he's not in a rhythm, you can score some runs. That's such a low total, obviously. So yeah, I'm kind of back and forth on the number between 5.5 and 6.5, but I don't like either side, so I don't want either side.
All right. Well, we won't bet on that then. Let's just do a quick draft. We'll each take 2 players, and if one of our players wins the MVP, $100. Sound good?
Sound good. I'm gonna totally screw this up, I'm sure.
You have to take 1 from each squad.
Okay, take 1 from each squad.
You want to go first or second?
I'll go second.
Okay, I'll take Ryan Cratch.
Of course you will. I will take Robles. And wait, I get 2?
Yep.
All right, I'll take Robles, and I will take.
God, thank you for that.
All right, so I have to take 1 from each side when I pick now.
Yeah, you got to take an American League one. You left me Dallas Allen. Thanks, by the way.
Yeah, I'll take Baranowski.
Okay. Forget it. I'm going to take Jimmy Norp. Sorry, Dallas. You want undrafted somehow. I changed. So, okay. Quick $100 bet on that. I talked with Joey from MLW Stats. There is no plan to do a ladder bet, so that's why we did it. He's not going to do the ladder for the exhibition game, so that's why we're not going to bet on it. All right, this will be the time when I hope that the graphics department will be putting up the new numbers here. I got to pull them up here, so let's talk about them. Trevor, what do we got?
One last all-star thought. After I'm looking at this roster, man, it really seems like the National League should be a bigger favorite, I would think. Don't you think? Now that I'm looking at this roster a little bit more.
Yeah, the fact that it's very likely that Dirty Dan is their 3rd pitcher is, I would agree.
Siri agrees. Actually, my watch just said she doesn't understand why the AL is not a bigger underdog. So there you go.
All right. There might be some editing going on right here because that sheet you sent me a little while ago, I can't seem to find. So what you start off talking while I load it up. What was the first one on the sheet?
MVP.
MVP. All right. Can you lead the charge on that while I pull this up again?
I can, yes. So the 2 favorites right now, the 2 clear favorites for MVP, I think, are Dallas Allen and Ryan Cratch. They're both, they've been, interestingly enough, they're both 3,500 in the preseason. As I said last week when we talked about the preseason odds that I had done for the teams, this is the first year I've ever done it. I learned a lot so far. Hopefully I'll be better next season. Some of these were way off from MVP, Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, all of it. And again, it was just the first time doing it. So I thought Dallas was one of the best bets for MVP at 35-1. And obviously now he's the front runner right now. I have him as a 3-1 to be MVP.
Yep, I'm looking at that here. 35-1 down to 3-1. Same thing for Cratch. 35-1 down to 4.5-1. I don't think there could be any argument from anybody that those are the top 2. I mean, we say this, it seems every show. We'd really like to see the Red Baron on there, but there's one reason we don't. And why is that?
Because he doesn't hit.
And why doesn't he hit?
I don't know. Maybe he'll get to hit in the All-Star game.
I don't know. He didn't even get to hit in the home run derby. Drew, come on, man.
So here's I will present after I want to do these numbers. I want to go through some of these numbers and I want to present an interesting case to you about my best bet going forward.
Okay.
And why there could be an argument that these are not the two best options for MVP. Now,
Let's hear.
obviously, so far, both of them. Obviously, the Eagles are 8-1. Dallas has been a huge part of that. The Preds are 7-2. Ryan's been a huge part of that as well. You got Sailor and Robles here in the middle. These are the guys that, with two really good series, they can propel their teams to really good records. And obviously if their teams do that, they're probably a big part of that. So those are kind of out there. And then you have guys like Cheatham and Norp here, who Norp is leading the league in hitting. I mean, he's having a tremendous year at the plate. Obviously, has struggled pitching. But if he can somehow lead the Diamondbacks to like a 6-0 record over the next 6 games, and they get in the playoffs, then you have to look at him heavily for MVP consideration, given that information. Same with Cheatham. If the Gators are able to really run the table here at the end, and you'd assume he's going to be a big part of that. I think everybody else kind of here is off the board pretty much, and I just included some of them just because they were in the preseason odds there as well.
Yeah, I see they're down at the bottom. Chadwick went from 35-1 to 100-1. Is that because you don't have an infinity sign on your keyboard?
It's mostly just because if someone would love to try to put down some money to make some money there, we would happily accept it.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. All right.
I think that's all that goes for MVP. Like I said, I'm going to come back to my best bet after we get through each of the numbers, because I don't want it to color some of the other stuff here.
Okay. On to Rookie of the Year. Not really a very liquid market there, right? We got 3 people on the list.
Yeah, I mean, you just really can't wager on this at all, because Robles is going to be the Rookie of the Year. I guess if you want to just, the only way that it could not be would be if Sawyer's going to get more at bats, like Drew has told us in the last 2 series. If he could come alive with the bat and pitch lights out in his games, and Jordan just has 2 terrible series, then it could happen. But obviously, it's an extreme long shot that it's going to happen. So,
yeah.
And obviously Landon doesn't pitch, but he's had a great year at the plate. I mean, he's had a very serviceable rookie year. Just not, maybe in some other seasons he would be a contender, but just not this year.
All right, let's skip that and let's go to the most exciting one, Cy Young.
Yeah, Cy Young. So this one, I wish I could redo at the start of the season, because I would have made the numbers much different. I think the fact that we had Dallas at 950 preseason was I couldn't believe that. That was my total bias. Just look back, I'm sure he was way worse odds than that preseason.
Yeah, it was a pretty sharp number you put up there. There's no way anybody would have probably put any money down on that. But at this point, what's his ERA, Trevor?
We're going to go through that. I have some stats here for you.
Right.
Once we get into the discussion on who I think is going to win.
Right. So the top, I was just going to say the top 3 are without a doubt the one that everybody would think: Dallas Allen, the Red Baron, and Ryan Cratch. Combined, I think they have 0 losses. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes. And again, another mistake obviously was not having. We didn't know what the Cobra situation was going to be pitching when it was going in the season. You expect Drew to pitch a lot. I knew Sawyer was a pitcher, so in my mind, I didn't think that Barron would be pitching 2 games a series going into the season. And that was, maybe that was a lack of research on my part, but I think that might have been the case for what a lot of people thought. So he was off the board. Not having Sailor up there, probably a mistake on my part, just because he was kind of in a similar situation to Dallas, where if Sailor continued to pitch really well, there was a case that he would then get more starts, and that has been the case similar to Dallas. So I probably should have had him on the board at some point. And yeah, the rest of the market, you don't even see Norp up here. He was the favorite going into the season, I believe. Let me check here. My preseason numbers that I had here. I believe he was the favorite, right?
Yeah, I think he was 1, and maybe I'm thinking of MVP.
No, Norp was the favorite for Cy Young, followed by Kyle, which was a mistake on my part probably, and then Daniel, Bonham, Drew Davis. This is, like I said, I screwed up the Cy Young odds pretty badly here. yeah, nothing more to say about that.
Hey, if you remember that one year, the Rams were 200-1 to win the Super Bowl, and Kurt Warner wasn't even on the list. So don't feel bad. Stuff happens.
Sure. But yeah, so Robles is down at the bottom. He's struggled a lot. Obviously he's had a decision in every game. He's had some struggles. Daniel has pitched great, but has not, we don't expect him to get, more than 2 starts for the rest of the season.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to see him going ahead of Dallas in that situation. So yeah, I think we have what looks to be, a 3 to 4 horse race here. I don't think you could ever bet Daniel. I think, in fact, he being at 800, I think is probably. Oh no, I think I changed it. Did I?
Yeah, he's at 11-1.
11. I'm sorry, he was on my other. I'm in my other spreadsheet. 11-1. Yeah, I think that's fine. I would never bet it though.
Yeah, fair.
All right, so let's get into some numbers here.
All right, where do you want to start?
I'm going to give you 2 players.
Okay.
Stat lines.
Love it.
And we'll compare who we think is the better candidate for MVP or Cy Young. Okay.
Yep.
All right. First candidate. 5 games pitched, 4 earned runs, 8 hits allowed, 6 walks allowed, 4-1 record, 0.80 ERA, and a 0.93 WHIP, which leads the league. Hitting, he's batting .324 with 3 home runs, 5 RBI, 0.425 on base percentage, 0.618 slugging percentage, and 1.043 OPS. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's player 1.
Okay.
Player 2, we can put these graphics up for everybody to see out there. Player 2, without the name. Player 2, 6 games pitched, 6 earned runs, 15 hits allowed, 19 walks allowed, 5-0 record, 0.95 ERA, 1.79 WHIP. 310 batting average, 4 home runs, 9 RBIs, 0.396 on base percentage, 0.595 slugging, 0.991 OPS. Okay. The biggest difference between these 2 players is one team is 7-2 and the other is 5-4 or 4-5. 4-5, sorry. Do you know who these 2 players are?
Oh wow. I thought for sure that first one was Daniel Schultz, but I guess it's not. So
nope.
I mean, the batting averages were fairly close. The ERAs were fairly close, right? 0.8.
0.8 and 0.95 ERA. The WHIP much better for player 1. And then player 1 had better on base percentage, slugging percentage, OPS, 1 less home run.
If one thing I've learned from Major League Baseball is wins and losses are the most overrated stats ever. So having that 1 extra loss, I guess the way you're leading me down is the player 1 generally has better stats, right? That person should be better.
Player 1 is Nick Saylor. Player 2 is Ryan Crash.
Ooh.
Okay, so and now let's take a look back at these odds. And I think the general sentiment, obviously, is that I think amongst the MLW watchers is that that Crouch is having a superior season to Saylor, and it was my sentiment also until I looked into the numbers a little bit. We have MVP, we have Crouch at 450.
Yep.
Saylor at 1150, right?
Wow.
I think you take Saylor there. If the Wildcats can rebound and get some wins, Saylor's going to be a huge part of this, and he's going to end up with a huge season, statistically speaking.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's really interesting. I just know that I guess I don't know for Major League Wiffle Ball, when it comes down to the awards, if you finish closer to the top of the in the standings, do you get the nod, or do they do like in Major League Baseball where a pitcher can go 10-10 and still win the Cy Young, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I think you probably get the nod, but it's not as far off as it looks. And that's why when you said, the Cy Young being a 3-horse race, and I have Saylor at 650 there, not too far behind Cratch. Saylor's pitching statistics could argue are better so far this year. Let's go through some other pitching statistics. Dallas, obviously, he's the favorite. He's pitched 5 games, no earned runs, 1 hit allowed, 5-0, no ERA, 1.19 WHIP a second. I mean, what else can you say? If anything, the only reason he's not a bigger favorite is because it's wiffle ball, and anything can happen in the last 4 games that he pitches. to bring his stats back to earth. You'd expect some type of regression from his stats. Barron, six games pitched, 5 earned runs, 11 hits, leading the league with 50 strikeouts, 5-0, 0.74 ERA, 1.38 WHIP. And then obviously the other one I talked about was Daniel, who's pitching 4 games, only 3 earned runs, 3-1 record, 0.68 ERA, 2.1 WHIP. So, and I already gave Cratch stats earlier when I was doing the comparison. Obviously, Cratch is having a great year. But what could happen is, so if the Preds go, let's say the Preds go 2-4 over the last 2 series, they end up the season with a 9-6 record. Very good. They're probably going to be the 1 seed. But if his stats come down a little bit and there's still the 1 seed, but the Wildcats get in and Sailor has a big second half, I think you can see him over that. And it's just gonna be hard. With Dallas's stats that we gave pitching, he's also second in the league in batting average right now. I believe I have to check his other stats here as far as hitting goes. Let's see. So yes, second lead in the league batting, 385 average. He is.
And that's behind Norp, right?
That is behind Norp, yes. And he is 6th in the league in on-base percentage, but it's actually 5th in the league because McGlade is 1st and he's only had 3 plate appearances, so he doesn't really count.
Right.
So 5th in the league in on-base percentage. He hasn't hit a lot of home runs so far this year, but that's not really his thing. So what does he have? Let's see. I can't remember how many home runs he has. Maybe 1 or 2. Yeah, 1. But he's hitting the ball, he's putting the ball in play, and he's been a huge part of the Eagles' 8-1 start. So you'd expect him to be. I expect him to be right in the mix for MVP, and I would be surprised if he wasn't Cy Young.
Yeah, I mean, we can only assume he'll pitch 4 of their last 6 games, which will help because nobody can hit him. Yeah, and I guess what I've learned here is it's not a Fade the Mahoney prediction show without you in some way diminishing Ryan Cratch.
Listen, Ryan's having a great year. Great year. He's in odds-wise, he's right in contention for MVP and Cy Young. And if he's able to continue with what he's doing, which I think is certainly possible, then he could be right there in the conversation. My argument is more for Sailor and not against Ryan, even though you can frame it that way for the views.
I usually do. All right, so just to recap that, super value on Sailor at 11.5 to 1.
I think so. Yeah, I think he's my pick for that reason, and it's probably also why when you asked me the first thing, if I had to pick a long shot to win the World Series right now, why I went with the Wildcats, because
all things being equal, you only had 1 team to bet on. Who would it be?
I think I would bet on the.
Oh, you were about to say Wildcats.
I was about to say Wildcats.
Wow.
I was about to say Wildcats, and the thinking being that if they can get into the playoffs, anything can happen.
You can come up with some narratives where they have a much better second half of the regular season than they did in the first half due to regressing to the mean and things getting back to the way that they should be based on what you think talent wise. And then if they get in the playoffs, they can beat anybody. So if that happens, then I don't know how much stock. So I actually don't even really know if MVP is considered throughout the season or if it's just regular season MVP or not. That's a good question.
I just assumed it stopped after they played their 15th game, but
yeah, because they do the postseason awards after everything's done. So I don't know if there's a postseason MVP. I had to think about that. I think it might just be season MVP. So I don't know. I should probably consider that stuff.
All right. All right. So just to recap, Alan Cratch, and I mean, I was surprised when I saw Sailor was 3rd on this list, but after your statistical breakdown, I guess it makes sense. I guess the one number that looks a little juicy to me is Cheatham at 22.5 after what he did in the last series. And if he can vault them back, if they do 5-1 type finish, I think that might be some pretty good value. And obviously with Jimmy Norp, he's the same as Cheatham. He was the overwhelming favorite at the beginning of the year. They just can't win a game, right?
Yeah, and I mean they're also in the bad spot where they don't control their own destiny either to get into the playoffs. So
All right. Were there any other specific numbers on here that you wanted to go over, or did we capture? I think we did a pretty good job of capturing the big three awards.
yeah, I mean I don't think for MVP you can't bet anybody below below Jimmy.
Right.
Daniel is just too far fetched because he's not going to pitch a lot of games. Drew and Kyle, I think the same situation. It's really hard in this league, I think, to be MVP if you're not going to be a two-way player. And so, yeah, I think you're just kind of screwed there. So, yeah, I would put the money on Sailor. Even though, like, I think Ryan or Dallas win it far more often than Sailor does, obviously, which is what the odds say,
Yep.
but not necessarily, 11.5 to 1.
All right. That's the All-Star game and future award preview show, midway point. We need to give a thank you to Jonah Heath for coming on earlier in the week to recap the Home Run Derby. That was a pretty good show, and people seem to like that one. Again, we gave away a Moxie jersey to a gentleman by the name of Maddox. That'll be on the way next week. I suspect we'll do a real quick home or All-Star game recap. And then next week, the show I'm most excited about that we've done all year, me, you, Chris Cheatham, and Jason Chadwick drafting for the fourth slate for the ladder. That was a lot of fun. I was on location. My audio stunk, but I think the content is going to be pretty good. Again, of the 14 players in the All-Star game, 6 of them are on my wall here. They've been on the show or will soon be on the show, like Alec Warda. Nick Saylor said he's going to come on down the road. So even though he's not technically in the game, he got voted in. The Red Baron and Dallas are the other 2 as well. They're playing. So we appreciate everybody coming on the show. And guys, go buy a jersey or 2. They're cool.
Maybe we can get the All-Star MVP to join us on Tuesday or Monday, whenever we do it.
We'll shoot for that. What else? Anything else to cover everything?
I think we got everything.
All right. Please like and subscribe down below. Let us know if you have any questions, and good gambling, everybody.